A1 Trading to Tower, you are clear for takeoff. Before the show begins, remember that trading involves risk, and anything shared in our content should not be construed as financial advice.
I do have some trades on. I am long Aussie CAD.
For these positions, I wouldn't mind holding them for 3 months.
So around 100.5 to 99.5 in that sort of area.
Pulver alerts, I have 100 shares at 11.79. I closed out today.
Start building your strategy based upon historical data.
Welcome to A1 Trading.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another live stream. Hope you all are doing well and staying safe in these markets as always. Just getting started here. Just want to make sure everybody can hear me okay. Sound is good. Looks like we are all set. Welcome back. I closed out of a trade this morning. I was short pound CAD and I was, wrong pound CAD. Hold on. There we go. I was short pound CAD going into, last night, basically. Yesterday, I took this trade and it just flushed right away. So I decided to take a profit on this one pretty quick. Also, this is so annoying. Sometimes my pen just decides not to work. So give me a second. Let me fix that. Yeah, so I shorted pound CAD yesterday. It was a really strong reading on the edge finder. It was pulling back intraday. I liked the setup. And we had a nice flush to the downside. I trade currencies really differently than I trade gold and indices and all that stuff. Which is I take profits pretty quick in currencies. Currencies are a little bit different in their nature. Like if you look at, pound CAD or you look at, dollar Swiss or Euro CAD or whatever. These currencies, a lot of them, they tend over time to consolidate sideways. Like they don't really go a whole lot of distance relative to one another over long stretches of time. My favorite example of this is when I'm trading currencies, I look at like Euro Pound and look at a monthly chart of Euro Pound. This is a monthly chart. And you can see the thing just goes sideways over long stretches of time. Now, it doesn't mean we can't have some really sharp trends in between. Like we could get some really good trends to the downside, trends to the upside. But over a really long stretch of time, currencies, a lot of them have a tendency, at least looking back last 10, 15, 20 years, to go sideways. And so it's a little bit different of a dynamic. Whereas if you look at a monthly chart of gold, it trends higher. It has an upward drift over long stretches of time. So the very nature of these things is just a little bit different. That's why I do not trade currencies the exact same way as I trade, indices and commodities. Forex sucks. There's pros and cons to every type of market. Currencies were like my favorite thing to trade in 2022. I really liked trading currencies during 2022 because there was just a very clear dollar trend going on, right? Dollar was really strong. I shorted euro dollar so many times in 2022. I was long dollar yen many times in 2022 and 2023. It was a good year for currencies because there was a very clear directional bias. The dollar was so strong because we had just a very persistent rate hiking cycle going on from the Federal Reserve, right? So that created this really strong force in the dollar, which created really nice trends. But a lot of times currencies default to just going back and forth against one another because then, when the rate hikes stopped, the dollar yen had a plummet to the other direction for multiple months and has since kind of just been back to a range-bound market. But when it comes to currencies, I will always trade currencies. Currencies are something I enjoy trading. I like trading, but I do not trade them in the same way that I trade other things because they are They're just different. Anyways, let's take a look at some markets here. NASDAQ is pushing higher here today, following through so far really nice. Is it possible to hold currency pairs like you do on commodities, Nick? What do you mean hold? Like hold long term? Well, when it comes to currencies, I'm like super long term focused. Now I have like currencies. It's such a bizarre, it's such a stark difference to how I trade NASDAQ and gold. And I'll tell you this really quick. Like the way I trade gold, NASDAQ, etc., is way more popular in terms of like what people like to see on YouTube, because I have a straight up entry, a stop loss, I'm trailing stops, I'm letting winners run. It's sort of like the eye candy, picture perfect, like, oh, that's really cool trading. What I do in currencies is really unpopular. I scale in, scale out. So I dollar cost average, which already gets people like, oh, that's silly. You shouldn't do that. And then I have, you know, tiny position sizes. So my gains in Forex are really small and really slow and steady. So it's just not popular, right? What are your current thoughts on pound Aussie? Well, I shorted pound CAD. So pound Aussie, yeah, I would also be bearish on it. I know because, yeah, I mean, I took the same trade yesterday on pound CAD and I just closed it out for a profit. So I'll show this to you guys really quick. Pound CAD was like a super quick drop. I shorted it yesterday in the VIP room and just closed it here this morning. It took 85 pips out of it and just said, all right, I'm out. And so this is what I mean by it's weird, because I can hold a trade for a substantial period of time, but I take winners quickly. It's very different. It's like the opposite of how I trade momentum, right? My momentum strategy is very different for commodities and indices, right? With those, I'm letting a winner just run and run and run. With currencies, I take profits quickly. So it's very different. And I've done it for a long time. It produces a high win rate type of approach, but every once in a while you get stuck in drawdowns. Remember, every approach you can possibly take in trading has things that make it look really silly. If you let winners run, guess what? You might have 5 to 10 trades in a row that look really dumb, meaning they take a loss or take a small loss or you take a small break-even win or a small win, and then finally you catch the big runner. In my currencies, it's flipped on its head. Like currency trading, I'm taking profits really frequently. And every once in a while, I get stuck in a trade that just kind of goes nowhere for a long time, or I'm stuck, you know, in a drawdown, and I keep it controlled because my position size is so small. But currency trading is very different for me than what I do in gold and NASDAQ, etc. Anyways, let's push on. Let's talk a little bit about what's going on here in today's market. We have NASDAQ pushing higher. Nice follow through here. I've still got my stop here. I would like to see if we can get some sort of push back to the all-time high and above it. If we can get above the all-time high, plan for me would be to trail stops nicely from there. But just watching and waiting. Stocks look really strong. SP500 looks great. Look at this. We look like we are headed right back towards those all-time highs and beyond. So stock market continues to look really good. Take a look at the 50-day moving average, just how beautifully this acted as dynamic support the last few weeks. You can see the NASDAQ and S&P 500 both rejected off of that 50-day moving average. The bears were coming in, came right to that 50-day moving average, and sometimes it really is that simple. Sometimes you don't have to complicate your technicals. If we look left, we can see that the 50-day moving average has been respected really well by the bulls here recently and the bears, obviously. And so we came down to this level once more. That in combination with a macro story that I still think looks really good for stocks, at least in the short term, and here and now, right? You have tons of AI spend. Corporate earnings are strong. I know that there are also aspects of the economy that are super lackluster, like the housing market, terrible. Jobs market, not great. Middle class, consumer, not great, right? And so you say, how can all of that be going on? How can the stock market just keep going up and up and up? Well, because the big spenders, big corporations and the wealthy consumer are still rocking and rolling. And that's kind of a weird aspect. You're like, what the heck? This is such a K-shaped economy. What I mean by that is that you have people who are, who are already owning assets, who are already long stocks, who own businesses, who have, high-paying jobs. They are doing phenomenal in this environment. And people who do not have assets or stocks or houses, right? They are not doing so well in this economy. So is it frustrating? Absolutely. That's in a very weird way. It's like, it feels really wrong. But at the end of the day, the stock market doesn't care. Stock market's still saying, hey, big spenders, big wealthy consumers are still spending money. Businesses are still pouring in more investments into the AI stuff. And for now, stock market really cares about one thing: corporate earnings. And corporate earnings are still going up. Right? So I'm not defending it like, just deal with it, right? Obviously, that stinks for people who are not participating in the capital system. So it's understandable. While there's, I think that one thing, whether you like or dislike or whatever your political views are, New York City just just voted in a mayor that is perceived as, self-described socialist. And so you can kind of obviously a lot of America is like, hey, that's not what we're built on. We're not socialist. But here's the thing. Maybe them voting in a socialist just is sort of a reflection of the type of economy that we're in, where a lot of people who are not feeling like they're participating in the capitalism winning, right? They feel like they want to get back. Now, I personally just dropped my 2 cents. I am very adamantly opposed to socialism. I'm a capitalist through and through. But you can understand the gripe with people saying, we don't have jobs, everything's expensive. So you can understand, right? So you can at least see socialism thrives in an environment where people, or the theory of socialism has never been successful throughout history. But the theory or the desire for this, idealistic kind of thing, in my personal opinion, you could see why people want it. It sounds good. I don't think it in actuality works well, but the point is, that's the concept. Regardless, back to the point, the NASDAQ S&P 500, yes, it can feel a little crazy that they just go up and up and up because, how can the market be doing so well? But I tried to explain it the best I could. Corporate earnings are still going up for the big tech stuff. And that's all that matters right now to this market. That is what matters to this market until something comes along to knock off the big tech companies that are, seeing massive corporate earnings growth. Until that changes, the stock market will go up. And remember that the stock market is not necessarily the economy. That's another thing that people sometimes get wrong. The stock market is not the economy. Now, can the economy and the stock market impact one another? Absolutely. But it's not a one-to-one exact reflection. So stock market's up because big companies are really knocking it out of the park in terms of earnings growth. So just something to think about. So I'm still long NASDAQ. I have a stop on my trade. Plan is to, like I said, look for higher lows, opportunities to trail stops and manage risk on that trade. Let's see, where are we at? So NASDAQ is still getting a bullish rating within Edgefinder. We can see that here, +6 score. Looks pretty good. I've showed this a bunch of times, but we'll just pull up NASDAQ, +6 score. So still getting a bullish rating on Edgefinder. Our moving averages look pretty healthy here. Looking for targets back towards all-time highs and beyond when it comes to NASDAQ. Economic growth metrics still look good. Now, again, sounds crazy. How can the economy be getting strong growth signals? Well, GDP is still above trend. It's really strong. Services PMIs projecting strength in the economy. Retail sales strong. Now, when I say the economy, that is super broad, right? But what I'm talking about is the actual output of the economy, fueled largely by big corporations and the wealthy class, is still going. So that's the weird aspect of this market. Seasonality looks really good for stocks. We've talked about this over and over. So I'm staying with this trade until, something comes along to drastically change price action. Price action would knock me out of the trade, but for now, we are going into we have been so far delivering on this seasonality 10-year average performance for the S&P 500, right? So again, we have a strong overall 10-year average performance for the S&P 500 for price. We continue to kind of be moving in the right direction here in line with seasonality. I've mentioned this though, Bitcoin is not playing ball this year. At least right now with seasonality, you can see we expected to have some strength in Bitcoin here at this time so far this year. We're not quite seeing that. So seasonality is never perfect, right? If it were, it just shows average performance. So sometimes you're going to have seasonality that works perfectly. Sometimes you're not. It's just saying generally we see a rally in the end of the year for Bitcoin, for S&P 500, for NASDAQ. Risk assets tend to move well towards this portion of the year. Bitcoin may still have a late year rally. We're seeing a little bit of upside move here today. I think that if you're watching Bitcoin, a really obvious downward trend line here on the daily chart, we've got rejection here off of these levels. I think bulls would love to see this thing actually break back up. This 108 level was pretty big for some time. So if we can get back above the 108, you can see we rejected it here alongside that trend line. I think that would give you, from a technical perspective, some strength. It would show you, okay, maybe bulls are back, and maybe you get kind of a right into Christmas rally. It's possible. I just think you need price action to start cooperating and to actually break structure to the upside. So I'm hesitant on Bitcoin. I don't have any open positions on crypto at this time. From a trading perspective, I might buy the IBIT if we've got a nice breakout. Something like that might be a trade for me, but right now just not seeing it, and I'm waiting for it to prove it to me. We may still get that late year seasonality run for Bitcoin, but I'd just like to see technicals start to align a little bit better before I jump into that. Never seen you trade US 30. US 30 is the Dow Jones is something I like to trade quite a bit in more of a if I'm feeling more defensive, right? Because typically, this rally has been led by tech, and tech has been where I've been trading the NASDAQ much more than anything else in terms of indices for the last few years. I also trade S&P. S&P and NASDAQ are really where I live, in the sense that, this rally is all about tech. The Dow Jones, in my personal opinion, is sort of an antiquated, it's a price weighted index, which means that the stocks within this, the weighting of this index is built around the actual stocks and the weighting of their stock price, which is very different. Like this is like UNH, right? A $328 stock. It's like Costco, I believe, is in there. You have like Walmart, you have Amazon, right? So it's a smaller concentrated collection of really big stocks, and it's weighted in a very antiquated way. The Dow Jones is not my favorite thing to trade. There are times where I like trading it, and I've done well over the years trading Dow, but I just prefer the NASDAQ and S&P because I do like the tech story more. I like watching that, as it is what really moves this market these days. Hey, Nick, I'm building my risk-controlled Bitcoin position, waiting for the bigger pullback to the 90s or 80s. We have time till January to February. Yeah, we'll see. The thing is, I personally use Bitcoin as a trading vessel. I just have no real strong conviction on Bitcoin. Like, I'm not somebody who says it's the future or it's going to zero. I'm just kind of a trader. Like, I'm just kind of like, if it's trading nicely, I think it's great for momentum trading. If it's trading poorly, I just kind of leave it be and wait for it to move. Dow Jones is violent to trade. I guess it depends how you're trading it. If you're trading it on YM futures, US 30, if you trade the ETF DIA, it just kind of depends what you're trading, because some of them are more have some built-in leverage. If you're trading like US 30, there's some serious serious leverage built into some of those products. Anyways, let's take a look at the dollar. Dollar index here up on the day, up 0.22%. I've been mentioning that I've been neutral on the dollar. I still think I just don't have a strong directional bias on the dollar at this time. If I take a look at my top setups here for a second, let's take a look at, see if there's anything on the US dollar. Nothing. If I take a look at minor currency pairs, I mentioned I took a pound CAD short and took profits on that this morning. I am watching this collection for possible further currency trades. But when it comes to the US dollar, let's just go major currencies only. You can see the edge finder is still just super neutral on the dollar. So I have no trade bias on the dollar. I think the US economy is holding up decently well. When compared to other places, though, it's sort of a mixed bag. We can see this on the economic surprise meter, right? So if we are looking at the economic surprise meter, U.S. economic data is holding up okay, but so is other places. UK had some pretty ugly unemployment data yesterday. Euro looks pretty mixed, but you can see I just don't have a lot of strong, like, here's something really weak in currencies, here's something really strong in currencies. Just kind of neutral. So we'll see. This could go either ways. We could trend back down. We could break out. I just don't really have enough conviction to play anything on the dollar. Currency or let's take a look at some commodities. Take a look at precious metals here. Gold and silver. Gold is looking like it wants to make a bigger push here to the upside, though you do have some notable resistance where we currently sit. I'm curious to see how we react to this area here. Why is this area significant? Well, look left, and what we can see is that this big drop off that we had, right? Huge drop off, paused right there and then sold off again. So as we come back up to this area, you can see we are pausing currently. Are we going to get, further consolidation, sideways move, or even a lower push? Shout out to Gareth Soloway. If you know that guy, I was listening to his content on gold. He was making a comparison to just how similar this current run-up looks to the 1970s run-up. And what interestingly he pointed out is, look how similar. I'm totally if I didn't cite him, this would be plagiarism, because he made a great point. Look how similar this chart looks, guys. Look how similar. Big run-up, consolidation for a few months, huge run-up. It's like picture perfect, the same looking chart to what we see currently. Multiple weeks of straight upside, and then finally blow off top, shot lower. Now, here is the dire situation with this. We can see, just like what is happening with gold right now, you had a huge run up, huge drop, couple weeks of grinding back up, and then look what happened. Gold proceeded to put in a leg lower. And you don't even want to know where this chart went next, because there's a lot of people who do not believe gold can have bear markets or long periods of downtime. Like, I've got so many people, and look, I'm a precious metals bull, so don't come at me in the chat. I'm not here to tell you, like, I'm not here to dash your dreams. But please understand, never say never in markets. Everything is probabilities. Nothing is certain in markets. Look at what happened. If you said, we've got the worst inflation, we've got massive problems, I need to just park money in gold because this thing goes up forever. Look what happened next. All right, this is 1980. Let's say 1980, you made the decision, I'm buying this pullback. I'm all in. It's going back to the highs. I'm going to get really wealthy on this. 1980. Okay. Look what happened next. All right. We had a rally. All right. And then we moved lower. Then what happened? We moved lower. We moved lower. And we kept going sideways to lower. Look how much I'm zooming out. 5 years have gone by. 6 years, 7 years, 8 years, 9 years. Oh, wait. We kept going down. We didn't get back to break even for 20 years, 30 years, 25 to 30 years later, gold came back. So all I'm saying, never say never. Be very careful with drawing assumptions in markets. Gold looks really strong today. Could it keep going? Sure. But please understand, it could also have a corrective 4 to 5 to 10 to 15 to 25 year period. And so can the NASDAQ. This is where you get people get into trouble. They make assumptions. They make a big assumption about what, oh, gold is going up. And people believe that because gold has done this, that the next move is going to be the exact same. Recency bias is a very dangerous thing in trading or investing, right? So if I'm looking at gold, it doesn't mean it has to go down like that. It doesn't have to be the same this time. It could be different, right? Like markets, I think there's a lot of things that are different in this time. I don't want to be careful with that. I wouldn't assume that we're going to keep going up in gold, but in Gareth Soloway's video that he did on this, he also mentioned that debt to GDP ratios are very, very elevated this time around. We have a much bigger national debt issue. And so that maybe that could bolster gold prices. So that's just something to think about. Like sometimes you get people who are, the gold bugs, truly gold bugs. And I'm one of them. I like gold for the long term. But to assume it's certainly going to never stop going up is a really dangerous claim. Okay. Where am I at with gold currently? Let's go take a look at gold. Gold's got a +4 score, still kind of hovering in neutral territory. I've mentioned that I might look at it a little closer if we get a pullback. On the 4-hour chart perspective, a move back down into the 50 to 61.8% retracement zone actually kind of sets up a nice technical long trade in my personal view. So if we can get this pullback here, lines up with this consolidation high, I think that might produce a nice risk reward trade as long as edge finder bias also looks bullish at that time. If something, bolsters a little bit more upside here in gold's scoring, I may get long on gold on that pullback. I actually like silver more. Silver is getting a stronger reading currently. It's getting a +5. And I like silver's price action quite a bit. It looks really strong here. We broke through this consolidation high. Let's just clean up our fibs here. So same kind of setup, I guess. A pullback into the 50 to 61.8% retracement zone. Looks really interesting to me looking left. So this is another trade that I may be looking at if we do get some drawback or drawdown, some pullback. We'll see. Maybe a little bit further. What this would probably coincide with if we back test up to the top here on the dollar, gold and silver might pull back a little bit down for the next few days, but we'll see. I'm not holding my breath on that because those are not like, oh, we've got the trade set up today. But, gold and silver, they can move really quick. So if you got a flush to the downside here today, might be something to pay attention to. Also, the government shutdown is expected to end pretty soon. And you know what that means? That means, guys, that hopefully sooner rather than later, we are going to get back online with our commitment of traders data. As soon as that data is available, our software will pull it in. Now, if you don't know the COT report, it's been kind of antiquated now because of the government shutdown. But if that data starts coming back in, you know what that means? That means we can see what institutions have been up to. And I'm so excited to get an updated view on that for you guys. I'll share it, of course, on my YouTube channel. And if you have Edge Finder, you can pull it up on your own time. But of course, you can select whatever symbol you want, gold, etc. Like prior to the government shutdown, gold they were buying the heck out of gold. Did they sell gold right near the top? I'm curious to see that. What are they doing with the dollar? What are they doing with NASDAQ, S&P 500? We'll be able to track institutional money here pretty soon once that data starts coming back in, if the government shutdown does come to a close. It is expected largely to end this week, the government shutdown. So let's hope that that is the case, and then we can start getting some more data. Multiple areas will start populating with data within Edge Finder once we get the government shutdown. Specifically, we'll get that NFP report, we'll get CPI data, we'll get PPI data. I mean, the Edge Finder is going to come back to life in terms of all the economic updates that we're going to get. So stay tuned on that, because that's going to be really interesting to see with all the new data how that changes scores. I mean, you could have some pretty drastic score swings on the Edge Finder here. And we want to stay locked in on that, because again, if if everything comes in a certain way and it really drastically suggests something different than what we've been looking at, that is information that we want to be on top of. So just something to think about here is, again, when that government shutdown comes to an end and that data starts to roll in, you could have some drastic score changes in the top setups algorithm. So stay tuned on that. We could have a strong reading for the dollar or a weak one. Just depends on what that data starts to tell us. Again, we are agnostic to bias to the best of our ability, right? It is dangerous to just, persistently be permanently bullish or bearish on a particular symbol or asset, right? We want to be agnostic to direction. We want to be open-minded to what the data tells us. If we had, this would really shock markets, but let's just say we had really strong jobs data. Most people, the market is like thinking, hey, we might have actually had some really bad jobs data during the shutdown. What if we didn't, right? Ask yourself this. Would you be open-minded enough to say, wait, if the jobs data actually comes in real solid, should I be more bullish on the dollar? Should I be more bullish on stocks? What if the data for jobs comes in terrible? Okay, maybe it's time to be a little bit more cautious on the dollar. More rate cuts might come in. We'll get that data. It will be populated in EdgeFinder, and scores will automatically reflect the new information. I'm really excited for it. I've been waiting. I know everybody's been waiting. I have first world problems here because I'm talking about, I want my EdgeFinder to populate, but other people are like, I want a paycheck. So, my problems are small compared to those out there who are, their flights have been canceled or they're waiting for paychecks. I recognize my privilege there, I suppose, but just something to think about is that is coming. So we'll see how that impacts. U.S. stock market opens up in 30 seconds here, guys. We are going to pass over the show here in just a second to our next show host. Before I do, just a reminder, don't miss when all that information comes back into play. Get a copy of the EdgeFinder because right now is the perfect time. We're doing our Black Friday sale right now, and everything within EdgeFinder, our seasonality tools, our smart money institutional tracking tools, the commitment of traders report tools, everything is 45% off. And it's a one-time payment to get access. What you can see here is right below my camera. You also have a QR code if it's easier for you, if you're watching on a television or on a PC or something, I don't know. If you just want to scan that QR code, if you scan that QR code or click the link that's been dropped in the live stream chat, you can speak directly to a member of our support staff about locking in that Black Friday pricing. Again, it is the lowest discount store-wide on everything that we do all year long. So do not miss your chance to pick up a copy of EdgeFinder. And heads up, full transparency, we do raise the price of this thing over time. So this is a one-time payment. You're locked in. You don't pay again, and it's all yours. So if you don't have EdgeFinder, now's your chance. Click the link in the chat description or the QR code to speak directly to a member of our support staff about getting your copy today. All right, guys, up next, we've got Forex James taking over the stream. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
If you're someone in the United States looking for a Forex broker, it's been hard to find recently. There's been a lot of changes in the industry, so I wanted to take a moment to tell you guys about Oanda. Oanda is a US regulated brokerage that allows US traders to trade currency pairs like the euro dollar, the pound dollar, the dollar yen, Kiwi yen, all sorts of different currency pairs. So if you're interested in checking out Oanda, we're going to be dropping a link in the chat right now as we speak. They, again, are a huge brokerage in the United States that allows you to trade without the worry of whether or not your account is going to get shut down tomorrow from an offshore, unregulated, sketchy brokerage. They have been around for a long time, and I've used them myself for a number of years. So if you're looking to trade FX and you're in the US, this is the brokerage to check out in my personal opinion. So take a look at it. We'll drop the link in the chat, like I mentioned, should also be in the description of this live stream. Do your due diligence and see if it's right for you. Now back to the show.
Hello. Happy Wednesday. Hope you're all well. Nick, if you could start trading from scratch, would you go for commodities or stick with currency pairs, and why? Obviously, I'm not Nick, but to be honest, they're both similar. There's not one that's easier than the other. If you're looking at commodities, things like oil, gas, agricultural commodities, then obviously you need to pay attention to supply and demand. So, for example, if there's a war, how does that affect supply and demand? If you're looking at currencies, it's kind of a similar thing, but it's more if there was a war, you'd more look to be where safe haven flows, which countries are affected. In my opinion, currencies are a little bit easier just because their behaviors are a lot more predictable, in my opinion. But that's, I've been trading currencies for many years as opposed to commodities. So just my input there. Joshua, yeah, I'm good. Thank you. How are you? Sluggy, Shells, good to see you guys. So I'm going to give you some source and then we'll move on to some potential trades because we've got, I think it's Marco on after me. So ING have released their 2026 outlook for G10FX. I'm not going to read through all of this, but again, I'm just going to give you some of the targets we've got listed. Just bear with me. I'm trying to start here. So euro dollar is first up. So ING is bullish euro dollar into 2026 or throughout 2026. So they basically revised their target higher for each quarter. So their end of year or end of 2026 target is 1.22. I've been speaking about 1.2 for a little while, so that does seem like the most likely outcome for price to go to over sort of the short to medium term. But we don't seem to be there just yet. Dollar yen, they're currently on a mildly bearish outlook. Not a huge price movement throughout 2026. Again, this is just their prediction. This isn't a guarantee, anything like that. But they are expecting lower prices towards 148 by the fourth quarter of 2026. And they're discussing the undervaluation of the yen, which is quite interesting. Pound dollar, they are mildly bullish, again, similar to euro dollar. Euro dollar in terms of revising their targets higher almost every quarter. At the end of the year, on end of 2026, are expecting 1.36 to be the price level. Euro yen, I'm not going to go over this one, but feel free to pause. Euro pound, they're expecting slightly higher prices on euro pound, which is interesting because I do agree with that. I do think euro pound does have more upside. We've got euro Swiss, I'm not going to go into that one. Euro NOK, dollar CAD, last one I'll cover, and then we'll go into some charts. Dollar CAD, they're currently mildly bearish, and then expecting 2026 to end off at 1.36 on the fourth quarter. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. New Zealand US dollar, mildly bullish. So basically what you will notice throughout this is they are bearish on the US dollar. But that's really it. But I just wanted to show you those. Feel free to obviously rewind, screenshot, whatever you want to do. Gibby, good to see you. Marcus, good to see you. Hope you're all well. Took a loss today after sitting in small profit. Just missed my TP, but I'm good. It's unfortunate. It's a way of trading. It's the way it goes. I was in a NASDAQ intraday position that I had to cut a little bit early, which actually is a good thing I did. Allow, I think. So took a NASDAQ intraday position. I think it was yesterday, actually. Started off horribly. It was a terrible position to start with. Entered right here. And then it almost stopped me out, came back up, and I closed it for, I think it was 0.85%. So it was a negative R&R in the end. But, sometimes you've got to do what you've got to do. And I just felt like that was the right call at the time. So I might jump back into that one because we're still in an uptrend. I still quite like the price action there. Dollar CAD, I went long dollar CAD, actually. Basically 50-50. It was like a 50% technical setup, 50% fundamental. I'm quite bullish on the dollar. I do think we are going to get worse jobs data come out when the government reopens. But it is what it is. I'll have to just bite that bullet. Price came down to the fib level here at the 0.618, retesting previous structure through here. Bullish trend overall. Obviously, Canada is in a very poor spot economically. I don't think they're really going to get much of a bolster from higher oil prices, or any significant bolster anyway. So yeah, dollar CAD seemed like a pretty good choice to be a buyer of, but it's still its entry, so it's a bit early to say. That's pretty much it. I don't think I've got anything else really to discuss. I would say I mirror what Nick said pretty closely on metals, specifically on gold and silver, in terms of looking for a 50% retracement or some sort of retracement into the previous resistance here. It'd be a bread and butter fib retracement break and retest setup. However, I'm still very happy to say that I think silver could surpass 55, which has been my end of year target for a while, quite easily and quite quickly. It wouldn't surprise me if silver ends up towards sort of 60 to 65, 70 in sort of the medium term. When I say medium, I'm saying maybe 3 to 6 months. That's a little bit aggressive, but that's currently my outlook. NASDAQ moving opposite to US 30. That does happen. Euro dollar. Yeah, I've not really done much on euro dollar recently. I did have a DCA position that I closed out this morning that went quite nicely, but yeah, nothing overly interesting on my side recently. I've been more focused on recovery. So euro dollar looks fantastic for shorts, which is why I was in a DCA at the time. So I was selling a lot of this move here and then cashed out this morning pretty much right here. So Eurodollar's price action is pretty much perfect. Really, really nice downtrend. We've got perfect lower highs getting formed. This is a perfect pullback to a 200 moving average and a rejection. So I actually wouldn't be opposed to being a seller at some point on Eurodollar, basically just following the trend. This isn't accounting for economics, by the way. But I do think on a technical basis, we could very easily come down to 1.14. So if I was to take a short position, that would be my target. Silver similar with gold. Yeah, I mean, the setup's the same on both. That's why I didn't go into gold, but it's pretty much a one-to-one. Big price action on NAS. Yeah, it seems we've had a bearish market open on NASDAQ. I'm not sure about the other markets, though. How is US 30 doing? Yeah, US 30 is rocketing. How's the S&P doing? S&P's flat. NASDAQ's taking a real beating, though. I think there's a little bit of a... what's the right word for it? Sort of caution around tech at the minute. I think that there's a large group of people that suggest AI is in a bubble. I'm actually one of those people. I do think AI is in a bubble. However, I think it now boils down to the fact of who or when is that bubble going to burst. I think there's people saying it's now, obviously with Burry going short. I'm fairly sure he's underwater on those positions, but that's fine, obviously. So I think there's people like Burry and people that have seen Burry and saying, okay, well, he's gone short. So, you know, he called 2008, so I'm going to short as well. I don't think that's a good idea. But then you've got the other people that are saying, like me, they are saying it's in a bubble, yes, but am I going to sit here and try and short the NASDAQ? Am I going to sit here and say that AI is overpriced? I'm smart enough to now short it? I don't think so. So I suppose it really depends on which side of the apple you're on, if that makes sense. Outlook on yen. I'll be honest, I don't really have an outlook on yen at the moment. I do still think that we could have more downside on things like dollar yen, pound yen. I don't think that's going to come anytime soon. I think, what was this? I don't think I took that trade. So yeah, I think we could get lower prices on yen pairs like pound yen, dollar yen, etc. I don't think it's going to come this year. I think it will very likely come next year once we get the Bank of Japan start hiking rates again. So the common consensus is that they're not going to hike rates until 2026. And I think everyone knows that. So they're just enjoying this carry dynamic that we're having right now. Once that flips and we do get the Bank of Japan start hiking rates again, then yes, I could see these markets coming lower. But yeah, I'm not going to fight that right now. I think it's more of just a buy and hold until the end of the year idea, really, on yen pairs. Not that I'm saying to actually do that, of course, but yeah, I don't think selling is right at this time. I've been stuck in EU short for 1 month, 12 days, just a 100 pip profit. Still a 100 pip profit. Well, sometimes the best trades take the longest. Dow will be way better to long than NAS. I mean, yeah, it's easy to say that in hindsight, but yeah, I think, I don't know. Like I said, it really depends on where you stand on specifically AI. I'm going to say tech, but yeah, I more mean AI because I can't remember the stat, but I saw it somewhere a few days ago saying that pretty much the whole US economy is propped up on AI, which, to be honest, I wouldn't say is far from truth. But yeah, I wouldn't like to be a long-term buyer anyway right now. Will he get a second movie? Could you imagine that? Yeah, the what was it, The Big Short or The Great Short? I can't remember what it was called. The Big Short, I think it was. Big Short Part 2. What EMAs do I use? Or what MAs do I use? So I use 3 exponential moving averages. I got 200, a 100, and a 50. No, I'm not still in GJ short. We booked our profits on that one quite quickly. Oil. Yeah, so I'm short Brent oil, actually. I'm not sure if I mentioned that earlier. Yeah, so our Brent position basically didn't do anything for a little while, went to a bit of a deep drawdown, and now we're coming back into profit, which is quite nice. But that wasn't my position. It was from my commodities guy. So I'll be honest, I'm not really sure what's going on with oil right now. Let me check the Edge Finder. Nothing on the Edge Finder in terms of a bullish or bearish reading. So it makes me personally quite flat on the idea. Price action here is very sideways as well. So just for the style that I trade and what I look for in markets, I don't see anything here. Also, the fact that oil has been on such an aggressive downtrend over the past couple of months does also make me quite inclined to be a short seller, I guess, at some point. But yeah, I'll be honest, I don't really see anything there for me right now. Check NAS. We just looked at NAS. I don't think there's anything different. It was just a bearish market open. It happens. I wouldn't say there's any need for alarm bells. It's just New York Stock Exchange opens. Money flows into the markets either way. And in this case, sellers took control. Any reason you chose those 3 EMAs? It's interesting, actually, because EMAs, I'm not going to go into a tangent here, actually, but not really. So someone asked me this the other day, and I couldn't really give them a solid reason. It wasn't like I use a 200 EMA because of this, and this. I use those EMAs because everyone else uses those EMAs. If you look at anyone really at all that uses moving averages, you will see at least a 200, depending on how many they have, but 200, 150, they're kind of just the universal moving averages if you do use them. So it's a case of just like the fib or anything else really in the markets, it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Obviously, if you've got loads of people looking at the same area, then it's very likely we're going to have a reaction. And it's not a reaction because of the EMA itself, it's because everyone's looking at the same area. Obviously, I've dumbed that down quite significantly, but hopefully you get what I'm trying to say. Because Mag 7 is still getting sold and people fear to buy it, but my other US stocks gaining. Yeah, I'm very heavily invested in AI. To say that I think it's a bubble, I'm very, very exposed to AI in my stock portfolio, but it's done very well, so I'm not going to complain. I'm just crossing my fingers that I don't get caught when that bubble does burst at some point. EMAs are like SMAs, but less laggy. Yeah, I mean, I've never really tested any of them like against each other. The reason I use the EMAs is just because that's what I learned to use. So I've always just stuck with it. 50 EMA on silver works like silver on daily works like a charm. Let's have a look. Yeah, I suppose you're right, actually. Just buy on the 50 this whole time, you would have been making some serious money. It's a shame we didn't know that at the time. Okay, so I don't know really if there's anything else to discuss. China 50. I was in a position on China 50 right here. Actually, I've still got it marked up. I closed it at break even. I think it was on this candle right here. So I'm not in this position anymore. Just because I wasn't very happy with the sideways consolidation. It's a market I've never traded before. So I just didn't feel overly comfortable with the fact that we just didn't have that push. Does that make sense? So rather than being in a trade that I'm uncomfortable in, I'd rather just cut it and maybe look for a re-entry. Ideally, I would have entered down here at this 200. But anyway, that's by the by. I think the price action still holds up very nicely. We've got previous structure here, still respecting here, and this has been a very, very clean break and retest. So technically, it's still a very, very solid trade. And I'm fairly sure this was a fib pullback as well. It might not have been that low. I might have chosen this one. Yeah, it was roughly around here that I drew the fib. So it came into the 0.5, 0.618 fib level as well. So technically speaking, everything was checked in terms of like the checkbox. Edge Finder was bullish or very bullish. So everything was there. It was just more of a mental thing that I didn't want to be in the position, which obviously isn't good. So I wouldn't suggest closing trades just because you're uncomfortable. Full margin 50 EMA buys. Yeah, that might be the method. What's the cause of CHF strength rate lately? I'm not sure. Has Swiss been strong? CAD Swiss is down, Swiss yen rallying, Euro Swiss down. Yeah, you're right. Swiss has been doing very well. I don't know why. Let's just have a quick look. I don't really keep up with the Swiss too often. Where we are, Swiss down here. So nothing's changed in terms of surprise meter. It's not like we've had some crazy news. It might just be a risk event, but then I don't see yen doing much. I'll be honest, I'm not too sure. Oops, sorry, I just tilted my camera. Hold on. There we go. Oh, trade. Has there been a trade deal? I'm not sure. Still not on the charts too much recently. Hopefully I can be back to normal next week. Gold and silver. We've already covered gold and silver. There isn't really much to them. First of all, because the price action is so similar. Second of all, because there isn't really anything to do. Silver's taking priority for me because we do have silver reading bullish on the edge finder. So if we look here, silver's got a bullish score of 5, which is interesting. And in terms of the price action, as I said, it's the same as gold. So it's more a case of just waiting to see if we can get a retest of these previous highs and a pullback into the fib. And that would be a break and retest, fib pullback, and then continue higher. Again, this whole setup is pretty much one-to-one with gold. So I don't really see much of a reason to mark up exactly the same thing. But yeah, the idea is the same. I suppose the only difference between gold and silver is that gold's not on the edge finder, whereas silver is. So yeah. What happened with NAS going down so strongly? I'm not sure. Let me see if there's any headlines that have come in. I don't think there is. I don't think anything's happened. But yeah, that is a real hit. I'm very thankful I decided to close that position. Hold on, just bear with me for a second. No, I'm not seeing any headlines or anything really that's moving markets right now. What we could also do, though, is check the AI newsfeed that Edgefinder's got. Let's see, NASDAQ. NASDAQ's recent performance reflects broader equity market dynamics influenced by US monetary policy, expectations, and economic data releases. So it doesn't seem like there's anything that's hit the markets in terms of like a shock event. It just seems to be the market open. Although, yes, a very strong open at that. What do you think about copper? I'm in a long on copper here. Actually, sorry, that's a lie. I'm not in this position. It makes me want to cry a little bit, but I didn't jump in quick enough. But my commodities guy called this one. So let me have a look at his thing here. I'm positioned long copper from blah, aiming to capture the continuation of the macro-driven bid supported by softer US data, a weaker dollar, and improving risk sentiment around the political end of the US shutdown. The setup leans on sustained Fed rate cut expectations and the gradual return of global optimism following stronger Chinese prints. So there you go. I don't know anything about copper. Not my basket. Not my bag of tricks. But yeah, that I should tell you. Palantir -3, smacking NAS. Oh, right. Is that why? Are we seeing... is this right? Is this what I want? No, it's not. I need the stock heat map thing. I don't know where that is on TradingView, though. Anyway. Looked for copper long, but missed it. Yeah, I mean, it was my fault. I was I was out the shop buying coconut water, so I couldn't execute the trade quick enough. And then by the time I got back to my desk, it was already flying. So it is what it is. Dow Jones is flying. Yeah, we've got a very, very mixed market open, which is interesting because it's not super uncommon that we get, S&P or the Dow or the NASDAQ doing one thing and we get the other one doing the opposite. That's not a freak event. What's interesting though is the amount or the movement or the size of the move, if that makes sense, compared to the others. Like, I don't know, it just seems very, very large move. But anyway, whatever. What portal do I use for central bank news? I don't really use one centralized thing. I use lots of different things. So I use CME FedWatch tool. I'll use Edgefinder for the projections. So by the way, code elite Edgefinder, massive discount, 45%. Don't be poor. I'm joking. What was I saying? Oh yeah, where is it? Interest rates data here is very useful, so I would also use that. I rely on bank reports, so I use like a mix of different things to gain my my information. Yeah, I know it does, Marcus. I'm just not sure where it is. Yeah, I've got no idea. I assume it's in scanners, but this isn't really what I'm looking for. But whatever. US 30 is crazy. Yeah, I mean, what's really sad was I was looking to be a buyer of US 30. I just completely missed the move because it was on, or is, let me just double check. Where is it on the Edge Finder? I know it was at the top. Yeah, I mean, it's matching a score of 9 with China 50. So I was looking to be a buyer, but I just couldn't find a place to get in. So it's sad to see this whole move that I've missed out on, but there you go. One of those things. Bank reports from where? In my Discord. I can't give out the source, unfortunately. Proprietary knowledge. They are public. You can get them from another place, but we pay $200 a month to bank reports on a daily basis. So we get them Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, obviously every weekday. But yeah, we pay quite a large amount considering what they are. Anyway, right, let's get back on track. So pound CAD, I think, is pretty much the only other thing I'm paying attention to. So I've not managed to get an entry, and this is completely my fault because I've just not really been paying much attention. I should have been a seller up here. Should have, hindsight, should have, would have, could have been a seller here. It was, as I always say, perfect sort of bread and butter entry. We retest these previous structure. Also for pullback, still in line with the trend and 200 moving average. So it was a perfect trade. But yeah, unfortunately, I haven't managed to get in. So now case of waiting to see what happens. Either we come back up and we stay a little bit range bound and I could get in maybe a 50% retracement, or we come lower and then look for a break and retest, and then I could short here. That's the plan. But again, whether that is what happens is a different story. Platinum. Yeah, platinum's on the Edge Finder, but it's just not something. I don't even have it on the list. Was it XPT? Is that right? Yes. Yeah, so it's just not doing much. I think if you were a long-term trader or a sort of a longer-term swing trader, maybe something like this could make sense. I'm not a fan of that. I just don't really like this setup, but I don't see anything else. And I wouldn't want to be a seller because we do have a bullish reading on the Edge Finder here with a score of 6. So it makes me want to be a buyer, but the chart isn't giving me any entry at all. So this is pretty much all I've got. I don't really, as I said, I don't trade platinum, so I don't know what's going on beyond what the Edge Finder is telling me. But yeah, we'll leave it there. Sluggy, you missed pound CAD as well. Oh, you caught pound Aussie. Very nice. Did I miss gold? Yeah, Fantasia. We've covered gold and silver previously. Canadian dollar, yes, still weak. I don't really see much of a revival path for the Canadian dollar. Although, saying that, I will be long on the Canadian dollar by proxy, obviously going things like short on the pound Canadian. However, I'm saying that because the fundamentals are weak. The economy is not in a great place. However, it's kind of priced in. As I always say, there's not been a catalyst to drive any new price movements. What we've got for Canada is kind of expected. Again, it's priced in. We all know the state of Canada. So although I wouldn't want to really be long on the Canadian dollar too heavily or get too exposed, I would happily be a buyer short term, obviously by proxy being a seller of pound Canadian or pound Canada. Buy and close your eyes. Yeah, that's always a good strategy. Aussie 200. I'm not going to go over Aussie 200. It's not because I don't want to. It's because I've only got a minute and a half or so left, and then we've got Marco coming on, and I don't really know anything about that market. Dollar Swiss. Yeah. So I'll be honest. I'm not sure what's driving the Swiss strength at the minute. So it's making it a little bit tricky for me to come up with a reasonable buy or sell idea. All I will say is I remain relatively bullish, cautiously bullish, let's say, cautiously bullish on the dollar. So I wouldn't really want to be selling, at least yet. That might completely change when we get the government reopening and the data coming back out. However, I would now just be looking for levels where we might see some sort of rejection to possibly then go long. So one level could be here, could maybe look for longs there, or maybe even here. It really, really depends. Although I'll be honest, I'm kind of forcing an idea there because I don't really see anything else. If you were a seller, you could do pretty much the opposite. I actually quite like the sell idea a little bit more in a technical view. So you'd be looking for a break, a retest here, and then continuation to the downside, maybe just into this next low. And then obviously we could maybe then get these moving averages to start crossing over and giving us a bearish trend. So that's that. Swiss yen up 0.76%. Yeah, Swiss is doing phenomenally today. Bashi, how you doing? Hope you're well. Not spoken to you in a while. Let me just check who's on after. So it is Marco. Okay. So guys, ladies and gentlemen, I will see you tomorrow. I think I'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day. Don't get margin called and don't leave because we've got Marco coming on just after me. Enjoy the rest of your days. Have a good one.
Hey guys, I just wanted to jump in for a second and let you know a little bit about today's live stream sponsor, DNA Funded. DNA Funded has very generous profit sharing, up to 90%, and 3 different unique challenge types. For those looking to get funded, they also have speedy payouts, unlimited trading days on the first and second phase of their challenges, a very wide list of different things you can trade with over 800 different assets tradable, and maybe the most important component, a very experienced team behind the whole operation. So if you're interested in learning more about DNA Funded, click the link, check it out, see if it's right for you, and make sure to do your own due diligence to see if what they have to offer fits your trading style. For 20% off, you can use code A1T20. Again, that will be 20% off any of their challenges you'd like to check out. Thank you again to DNA Funded for sponsoring today's live stream. Now back to the show.
Hello everyone, welcome to my segment of the stream. So I do hope everyone is doing well. If you have any questions, any concerns, you can put it in the chat. So this is my silver position, which has been running quite nicely. Okay, so the silver position looks pretty healthy. I have been pretty vocal about silver. I told you I'm looking for pullbacks. I'm looking for a better price. I'm looking for a discount. And we got a really nice pullback here. So from the peak to the trough, it was around minus 16%. So that is pretty good. And then I got in at the close of the Monday candle. So I was considering a break and retest, but I decided to just get in with a market order because the last couple of times I waited for a break and retest and then it never came. So essentially I got burned before because I waited for the perfect entry. Well, with gold and silver, they usually are just flying, and if you don't get in, it goes without you. So I was also waiting for a confirmation from the edge finder. So let's take a look on the top setups. I didn't just want to blindly buy. So essentially on silver, we did get a bullish reading, which was nice. The COTS are not up to date, but it was an even higher score on Monday. I believe it was like a 9. So it was even higher than 5. And for me, that is a bullish score. So I had to follow the plan and I had to take this position. Okay. Let's see. Hey, Sluggy. Hey, Neon. Are you familiar with why this dump happening now at BTC? Dump. Well, I would say for crypto, I'm bearish. We are now in the bearish part of the halving cycle. If you don't know what the halving cycle is, I don't know either. So it doesn't really matter what is the halving cycle. Of course, I should know it, but I'm a bit lazy. I just know that if you look at the last 3 halving cycles, you're going to notice that we are now in the period, I think they last for 4 years, and we are now in the period where the price action is bearish. Okay, so we are now in the bearish part of the halving cycle. This bearish part lasts until November 2026, and this is an extra confluence for me to possibly be a seller. Now, I have actually flipped, not be a seller, but not be a buyer. I have actually flipped from being a bit bearish on the NASDAQ to being bullish again. So I thought about my whole AI story. AI is kind of, let's say, becoming a bearish narrative. People are starting to ask questions. Well, I think we're not going to get a bigger pullback. The reason is the US government is reopening pretty much by this week on Friday. I think they are voting for it today. And by this week on Friday, we should get a reopening of the US government. Now, that means massive injection of liquidity. Okay? You can see that gold and silver are already very bullish on this news, very bullish on this news. So this injection that is expected is already pushing things higher. Even the DXY is pumping a bit. Yes. And even the NASDAQ, as you can see, a big correction or a big push to the upside from the Friday candle. Okay. So basically, I think this US government reopening story is actually pretty bullish for the stock market, pretty bullish for every liquidity asset, every liquidity sponge, and Bitcoin can be considered as a liquidity sponge. So again, halving cycle is bearish. The US government reopening is bullish. So I'm getting a bit of contradictory evidence, but I'm not looking to do anything at this level. I'm not looking to buy it. I'm not looking to sell it. I am kind of flat. Okay, my net opinion is a bit flat on Bitcoin. So I was bearish, but then the US government decided to reopen. Now I'm more neutral, right? That is my general stance. Why did the dump happen? Well, it could be because of the halving cycle, or it could just be concerns about, let's say, or people not wanting to put money into very risky assets. Same thing happened with Ethereum. Although with Ethereum, it's a bit of a different story because the massive explosion up was the US companies trying to copy MicroStrategy, trying to copy Michael Saylor, and just putting a bunch of their equity or a bunch of their reserves into Ethereum, thus propping the price of Ethereum higher and higher, having crazy forecasts like Ethereum goes to 20K in 2025. So it's pretty much just a crazy rally. And crazy rallies have huge corrections, which is exactly what we saw here. This was a really big correction. Hey Joshua, what's up? Is there any news that just came out? I don't believe so. I think the next big news event is going to be for the Aussie employment change and the GDP for the UK. That's going to be tomorrow. What's happening to the NASDAQ? I would say we're pushing higher. So we are definitely looking overall healthy. Again, the US government reopening is bullish for the stock market, is bullish for all of the liquidity sponges, and is bullish for just general massive spending of money, increasing the debt, Trump's big beautiful bill. Just we're going to spend. So I'm bullish. I'm looking for buy setups. I, again, missed the dip. So I missed the first taco dip. Now I missed the AI is doomed dip. So yeah, maybe I need to get my head in the game. So I didn't have the best prediction, but this would have been a great level to get in. I think Nick actually managed to catch the dip. I think Nick, just a second. Sorry about that. So the dip was pretty good opportunity. If you didn't manage to catch this, if you're in the A1 Discord, you would have been notified about this dip. Okay, so essentially, what I want to say, oh, stupid phone. If you are in the A1 Discord, okay, if you're in the A1 Discord, then you would have gotten Nick's signal. Okay, let me just do one more message. Okay. So yeah, basically nice signal. Let's see. Already booked profits on NZD shorts. Not much here. Most of the short news is already priced in. Need new catalysts in the mixed bag now. Hi Marco, what kind of chair is that? It is the worst chair possible. If I'm being honest, it's an IKEA chair. See, it's an IKEA. I think it's called Marcus or something like that. The worst chair you can ever buy. So don't waste your money on chairs from IKEA. If you want an office chair, go to a different store. It kind of looks good, but that's where they get you. So it visually looks good, but it's so uncomfortable. I'm gonna need a new chair. I'm waiting for gold to go down a bit to around 4K. What do you think the chance? What is the chance? I'm bullish. So 4K. Yeah, it's not that far away. It's not that far away, but we could see it happen. We could see it happen. We could get a pullback. So I think the probabilities are that the price goes up. I think it's likely that we go back to ATH, all-time highs, but it's not super impossible for gold to go to 4K. Okay? If you want a trade idea, you could wait for a retest of the, let's say, 4,050. Okay, so you can do something like this. Although in my experience, every single time I tried to wait for a break and retest on gold or silver, it never hit. So it just went flying. So that is also why I took a market order on silver without waiting for a pullback, right? So I think this goes up. I think the probabilities are, the environment is that gold goes up. Boss chair, Taco Marco, when are you gonna buy indices? I'm looking for pullbacks. So I'm looking for some pullbacks. Do I want to buy here? I don't know, maybe. I would rather wait for a buy limit here. Okay, like this. So maybe kind of a breakout and then a retest. That would be a bit more interesting. That would be a good level. Do I want to get in here? I don't really think so. I'm sad that I missed the dip. So that was a pretty good position from Nick. That was a really, really good signal. So maybe you can pull back a bit more. Okay. Got a call from Daddy Powell. What did he say? I catch the dip, but it was really hard. You have to stop being a perfectionist with entries. Yeah, so that is definitely one of my issues. I wait for a perfect entry as far as technical analysis goes. And it hasn't served me the best in 2025. So I usually wait for some sort of a break and retest, some sort of a pullback to a specific level, and then the price does tend to run away without me. That is something I have noticed is a mistake I'm making and something I'm working on. So lately, I have been doing more aggressive entries. I have just been getting in with market orders, and it has been working okay. He bought, dump it. Okay, so my charts are gone. Just a second. What do you think of USD CAD? I'm in a position on USD CAD. So I'm in two trades essentially. I am in silver, I'm in USD CAD. USD CAD was running some really, really nice profit, and then we got some positive news out of Canada. I personally don't believe that just one data point can have such a bearish impact. Okay, I personally don't think that can happen. So I think it's still just one data point. I think this should continue going higher. We are getting some dollar strength. We are now hitting the 20 MA and bouncing from it. I'm still running some profit on this position. So long term, I do still believe that this is the best FX position for me to have. Just USD CAD long. It's positive swaps. If you go to the carry trade scanner, USD CAD, see, positive swaps. So essentially, I get paid every single day for holding this position, which is much better than paying for negative swaps. I don't mind holding this until the end of 2025, maybe even 2026. So January, February, March 2026. Again, I'm monitoring the numbers, I'm monitoring the data. And if you look at the Edge Finder, you're going to see the GDP for Canada is still very bad. The unemployment for Canada is still pretty high relative to other countries. So yes, it came down in the last print, but has it broken the trend? Isn't the trend still up, right? I would say the trend is still to the upside. And if you look at inflation, we're actually getting higher inflation, 2.4%. That is above the 2% target. What you must know is every central bank aims for a 2% inflation, right? 2.4% is definitely above target, and it's a problem because to stimulate growth, to stimulate employment, you need to cut interest rates. Let's say the downside of cutting rates is inflation goes up. Well, inflation is already running a bit hot, right? 2.4%. So there's not a lot of room for them to cut interest rates. That is called stagflation, and that is still bearish. So summary is, this is just one data point. See, this one here. The trend of bad data is still continuing in my personal opinion, and this is still the best position to have in the markets. I think gold will go to 3,400, then we bounce. I don't think that's going to happen. Don't you think gold and silver are trying to price in, buy the rumors, sell the news? Well, the news is still not in. The government reopening is still not definite. So I think there is a high chance of it happening, but it's still a rumor. Once it actually happens, once it actually hits, yes, we may see gold and silver actually sell off. But I personally believe we are still in the part of that whole scenario where it is still kind of a rumor, right? So you should buy the rumor and sell the actual news. Well, we still haven't gotten a definite answer. Will it actually happen? We just know the probabilities are very, very high for it to happen. How long does it take to be profitable? How long did it take you to be profitable? Well, I have been like seriously trading from 2021, where I basically use every single work day to work on my trading. So that is 21, 22, 23, 24, now 25. That is almost like 5 years, 4 to 5 years. So I would say it takes you 1 to 2 years. If you know where to look for, if you find the right educators, if you find the right mentors, if you find the right community, or if you get a job at a prop firm, if you get a job at an investment bank, it's going to take you a couple of months to a year. But if you find the wrong community, wrong mentor, if you start trading ICT, it's going to take you 5 to 10 years. So it's all about finding the right people. And most people want the shortcut. Most people want the easy fix. While the hardest actually fix, the hardest path is getting a job at a bank or getting a job at a prop firm, but it is also the most efficient path. So I know some traders from Positive Equity, which is a prop firm here in Croatia, and they become profitable after around 6 months. So after around 6 months, they start trading real life capital and they are profitable. Because they just have the environment where you are there physically every single day for 10 to 12 hours and you are learning directly from profitable traders. It's almost impossible if you have the right tools and mindset. It's almost impossible for you to become a losing trader in that sort of environment. But it doesn't sound as glamorous as trading ICT from your phone, doing 30 minutes of work every day. That sounds very appealing, but it's it's not going to happen. So I do want to use this time to mention the sponsor of today's video, which is going to be DNA Funded. So if you're looking to get funded, if you're looking to expand your trading capital, DNA is definitely one of the best options. So they're ran by professionals. It's not just some kid in a basement. They have good trading conditions. I know because I'm actually live trading with them. This is a 50K challenge. And with our discount code A1Live, so A1Live, you get 25% off any challenge. Okay, so A1Live, 25% off any challenge. This is my 50K challenge, currently running plus 5.86% in phase 1. And this is the equity. So we have been break even, then we have been profitable, and now again break even. And this is only using signals from ChatGPT to trade. Okay, so this is not my personal strategy. This is only ChatGPT trade signals for testing purposes, for content creation, and for making videos in general. It's not something I'm doing like on a serious trading matter. I'm not putting a bunch of money into this. It's just a single challenge. So yeah, currently have open a buy on USD Swiss. And A1Live, 25% off. If you want, check it out. It is definitely one of the best options as far as funding goes. I managed to add to my NASDAQ, but stop loss almost got hit. Okay, awesome. So looks like Sluggy is long on the NAS, which is nice. I think that's a good play, especially if you manage to get in here on this candle on Friday on the dip. Hey Marco, where are you from and what is your mother tongue? So I am from Croatia, Zagreb, capital of Croatia. It's a small country near Austria and near Italy. And my mother tongue is Croatian. Okay. I speak Croatian, Bosnian, Serbian, English, of course, and I know a little bit of German because I learned it in school. But German is the worst language you can learn. It's so ugly and so hard to learn. If gold closes above 4149, it will forward value gap at 4190. Well, I don't believe in fair value gaps, so I'm not sure if that's going to happen. Please do EU. Okay, sure. Japanese PM came out dovish today, pissed off a lot of people. Did she? Let's see. I can't see it on the market moving news. Can we see it here? This is, by the way, Financial Juice, totally free. So let me see. Usually Japan is going to be somewhere 1, 2, 3 in the morning, my time. Japan's Takaishi. We cannot say that Japan has emerged from deflation. Okay, but I don't see anything that is red. So I'm not sure exactly what you are referring to, but if you can type it in the comment section, the exact post, it'll be a bit easier for me to find. The yen interventions might happen next year, in my opinion. Yeah, so if you go to UJ is pumping. UJ looks pretty healthy. UJ is up. We are approaching the levels where they can start talking about an intervention. 156, 157, 158. Those are the levels where we might see a bit of an intervention talk. We already had an intervention at 160, right? Or 161, massive crash lower. So I'm just worried about this. I'm worried about buying UJ because this can happen, and Bank of Japan can just start some rumors saying they don't like the current exchange rate, and then the price sells off just on that news. So it could be pretty dangerous level. I think this whole level, so 160 to 156, this whole level could be pretty dangerous. So you could see some headlines from BOJ, from the Prime Minister, about the current exchange rate. No room for December hike. Okay, yeah, I don't think they're going to hike in December. Let me see the Fed Watch tool. How's that priced in? 65.4. Okay, so hasn't moved drastically. I don't think the Bank of Japan is going to hike in December. ICT is no good. That's my personal opinion. Why ICT study will take more time to be profitable is if someone is trading ICT and is profitable, that's a classic placebo. The only profitable ICT trader that I have heard of is that Jade Cap guy. I think this is the name. So Jade Cap FX. And I think he's actually profitable. So he's apparently trading ICT, and he's the only one that I think is profitable and is actually trading ICT concepts. I haven't heard of any other living soul trading ICT and actually being long-term profitable. So I believe the whole thing is pretty much a scam. I'm 100% sure ICT, the main guy, is a scammer. He's totally a scammer, but the strategy, I think it doesn't work long-term. Unless you have some perfect pattern recognition skills, like maybe that Jade Cap guy. Account giveaway, no giveaway this week, I'm sorry. What did kids in basement do to you? Marco, you know Russian language? No. Man, why Serbian? Because it's the same language as Croatian. We're all neighbors and we pretty much speak the same. So Bosnia, Serbia, Croatia, and a bunch of other smaller countries. Bok Marco, hello, a grown-ass kid. What's up? Would you say it's okay to trade multiple charts if your strategy doesn't get A+ setup often? Would you say it's okay to trade? Yeah, absolutely. So what I know, if you learn from professional traders, they will have as many instruments that they can follow at once. So the more instruments they can follow, the better, right? They don't just limit themselves to, I'm just going to trade the euro dollar, or I'm just going to trade the NASDAQ, or I'm just going to trade gold. The real professional traders that I personally follow, they trade everything under the sun because they hear something, they research something, they find an edge. No matter on what it is, they can exploit it, right? So it's pretty much the markets. I mean, instruments are very similar. There's not a lot of things different between instruments. If you have a piece of information, if you have some knowledge that 95% of other traders don't know, why wouldn't you trade it? Like, why wouldn't you place a trade on Ethereum if you had a piece of information that 95% of other market participants don't have? It would just be silly not to trade it if you have the opportunity to trade it and you have a clear edge. ICT takes 15 years to learn. Maybe after 15 years, if you're still alive after learning that crap, maybe you're profitable. Where is the nearest support for the NASDAQ? I would say the nearest support here. So 24.4, I would say. An even bigger support level would be at 2400. It's a big psychological level as well. It's a round number. Humans love round numbers. They love placing orders around round numbers. ChatGPT says Jade Cap is a scammer. I just don't have a lot of information on him. I'm not sure, but from what I've heard, he is profitable. My friend uses modified ICT strategy and he is long time profitable. If you can send me his my FX book. So if you can send me his track record, and it needs to be at least 2 to 3 years, at least. ICT, I can't trade. And you can send it to me in the Discord. Michael Hudson is a marketer. He can't trade. That's true. Jade and ICT working together. I'm not sure about that. I don't know about it. All public accounts blown. Exactly. So that Michael guy just cannot trade at all. It's a strategy that just worked for him in a few months, but I doubt it's going to work long term. Still good to be able to cash out. All Robin's Cup accounts blown as well. Yes, you're correct. Okay. I stopped ICT when he said he was taken into a van and the FBI taught him how to trade. I do remember that. That was super funny. He's very entertaining, I'm not going to lie. So he is if you want to learn marketing, he's the GOAT. So he's like the GOAT at marketing. The same goes for that guy. What is the name? He's also pretty funny. That has crash outs. So he trades live, apparently live, and then he crashes out because he loses a bunch of money. He has curly hair, I believe. I forgot the name. Copy-paste model, which ICT teaches cannot sustain long-term. Yeah, so it may work for a couple of months, but it's not going to work long-term. That's not true. Traders at trading desks only have 1 to 2 instruments to focus on. Ball out, I just don't agree. So have you ever been to a real trading desk? I have, and I have seen what they're trading. They're trading pretty much everything under the sun. Because, as I mentioned, if they have a piece of information that 95% of other traders don't know, it doesn't matter if it's on gold, euro dollar, silver, Bitcoin, Ethereum, or something else, they're gonna use that trading edge to make money. They may focus on only futures, so they may only do futures, only options, only ETFs, only CFDs, only blah, 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 blah. But from my research, they trade everything. I'm not saying that applies to every professional trader. I'm saying that applies to 90% of professional traders. Because if you read Market Wizards as well, check out the book, see what they're trading. It's pretty much everything. Ballout says my FX book can be faked. I think it can, but it's pretty hard. Don't be mean to ICT. He was sent by God to teach people how to trade. Donvo, no, that's not the guy. What is the name? TJ? I think it's TJ Trades, something like that. Focus on 1 to 2 assets. Also, Nick, if you check out the mentors in A1, Trader Nick, Chris Pulver, Iwind, James, they all trade pretty much everything except Iwind. I think Iwind focuses on Forex, but Nick, Chris, and James, they trade everything. Please, can you check GEP CAD for me? Yes, sure. Macro traders can trade many charts, but every day risk on traders focus on 1 to 2. I would disagree. I trade every asset possible, and I use futures for my analysis. My FX book doesn't mean anything can be faked. TJR, yeah, that's the guy. TJR, thank you. Okay, we found him. He's pretty funny, but a very big scammer. So we said first euro dollar. On the euro dollar, why do I have this risk reward tool? Let me just hide this. I don't know what I was doing there, but maybe I should delete it. It was a trade idea. So I would say I'm more bearish than bullish. I think the euro relative to the dollar is the weaker currency. So I think the dollar is the stronger currency. If you look at the narrative right now is basically the same. So let me go to the top setups, just a second. Top setups, Euro USD, neutral, and let me see if someone is after me. Let me check. No, I'm closing. Okay. So neutral reading. I think the narrative has shifted from the euro being the savior of 2025 and the dollar being the worst currency. It has shifted to dollar being, again, the best currency and the euro being not so great. So if you check out the DAX, looks like absolute crap. Looks super flat. If you check out the NASDAQ, explosion up. So in my opinion, I don't have a massive trading edge on euro dollar. But if you want a trade idea, I think selling right here could be a good play. Tight stop loss like this, targeting the lows. I think that could be high probability. Okay, so again, I would say USD CAD is more interesting, and some Aussie pairs are more interesting as well. But euro dollar, selling it right here could be okay. I think there was GBP CAD. Let me just see. What was the GBP CAD? Okay, GBP CAD, and then we're done for today. So GBP CAD is going to be the last one. GBP CAD. Yeah. I don't like the pound. I don't like the CAD. I'm bearish on both. I would say the overall daily price action confirms that. Super flat, super choppy, doing absolutely nothing in the long term. So I don't have a massive trading edge here. Of course, I love buying a strong currency, selling a weak one, but I don't like doing anything when both currencies are weak. So what I would actually do is I would buy USD CAD and I would look to sell GBP/USD. I think selling GBP/USD is actually a good play because, again, I mentioned the pound and the CAD are the weakest economies currently in 2025. Just the numbers, they look really bad. The long-term numbers, the short-term numbers are probably not so bad. Let's see. Yeah, short-term numbers are great, but the long-term stuff, the long-term data, which I also look at, is the worst. So for me to be actually interested in a position on GBP/USD, I would need to see this thing be bearish. So the short-term data be bearish for the UK, and the long-term data is already bearish, so that's fine. I would just need to see this become red, and then I would be pretty happy to sell GBP/USD. That is my game plan. Okay, agree to disagree. Yes, once again, we agree to disagree. But that's okay. That's why we have these streams. That's why we have the Discord. It's fun to talk with you guys. It's fun to discuss things and discuss concepts. Can you talk about Alex G? He's a scammer. Sorry, I almost said the F word. That's because Sluggy wrote, "I'm staying the beep away from USD." Love your channel. Thank you so much. Well, thank you very much for the feedback. And if you can give this stream a like, that would be great. Gold just shot up. Did it though? Yes. Okay. Silver as well. So position running nicely. Yeah, Sluggy, you got me in trouble. I'm going to wrap up the stream here. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you tomorrow. I will see you tomorrow. Hopefully this stream is not demonetized. And that's about it. Good luck. See you.
You've been watching A1 Trading Live. We're here Monday through Friday, where you can tune in to hear insights from professional traders from all over the world. All month long, our products are 40% off, the biggest discount of the entire year. You can get access to our trading softwares, trading community, and so much more right now on our website, a1trading.com. Make sure to subscribe for future streams, and don't forget, if you're looking to get access to free courses, prop firm discounts, and free trading tools, as well as massive discounts on all our products, head over to a1trading.com. See you next time.